Schedule a Zoom with me at GCExperts.com/Zoom.
Hey, Sean, sorry took me so long to call you back.
That's
But,
okay. What you got going on?
I'm doing work at Goodfellow Air Force Base. It's my first government job that I've done on my own. Obviously, when I worked for Carl, I did quite a few, and even sub jobs for them at different federal jobs. But so I just had some questions, and I didn't know how it works with the consulting fees and whatnot. But
for the moment, just assume that this phone call isn't going to cost you anything. Tell me what the problem is.
Okay, so long story short, some of it got resolved about an hour ago. While I was when you called in, I was on a meeting call with them, and with the government shutdown, so we were scheduled to start the week the government shut down. We had already purchased a bond. We had already, gotten all that straight, and we're geared up to mobilize. We had a notice to proceed. Well, with the government shutdown, they told us we couldn't start because the civilian side, this contract goes to the civilian side of this project. And so we were down for 2 months, and then, we got the go-ahead to get started. And we were having some trouble regaining our time. They didn't have a procedure in place. Finally, they came back and said, well, you have to submit a request in the form of a letter stating why you need more time how much time you're asking for and why you need the time. So it took a couple weeks going back and forth to get them to even tell us that. And then on the pay side of it, we submitted a schedule of values the way we normally would on a private job, I guess you could say, or public job, even not a federal job. And they had it for a few weeks, and they said, "Oh, this isn't the right form. It needs to be on a different form." And in the process, we found out that they weren't going to pay mobilization, and then they didn't want to pay for stored materials either. They wanted to pay percentage of the individual task. Like, for instance, we're replacing a section of water line. So they wanted the job broken up by excavation, replacing the hydrant. That way, not labor, materials. So it didn't do us any good. We went ahead and hurried up and got our material delivered out there to the tune of $50,000, and they're telling us that we can't bill for that. We've got to just bill percentage of the individual, I'll call it task or items, pay items that they want done. So, for instance, we spent 2 weeks doing what we call discovery work in our book, and that is, using a hydrojet machine to dig up connections and T's and valves and exposing, fiber optic lines, and so we can start excavating. Well, they're not paying for discovery work either. It's not a recognized pay item. And this is what they're telling us. I just wanted to see what your thoughts on how we push back, or do we even push back? Does that sound normal?
Yeah, I understand. I just want to make sure you tell me everything first before I respond to anything.
Sure. Okay, so turns out we've in this last phone call, they told us to go ahead and submit for all the time, to regain all the time, which was 120 days to complete the project that we lost. So we're doing that. And then on the pay, though, we just going along with what they're telling us, and we're billing we sort of changed our billing to reflect. We took discovery work out and basically called it excavations, where it wasn't. Like even when they asked us for a breakdown of our price, we provided a breakdown. It was very detailed: materials, labor, how many valves, discovery work, the hours it would take, mobilization. So they obviously had our detailed breakdown, but on the schedule values that they're approving, it's like 6 line items. I think it's excavation, it's replacing the 10-inch main line, replacing a hydrant, replacing a PIV valve, that kind of thing. And then I think they may even have trench protection, traffic control. So we had to kind of separate our money or our bid into those few line items, and they're wanting to pay a percentage of each of those line items. So essentially the problem I'm having is I have $50,000 worth of material that I can only bill, on site, that I can only bill about $5,000 worth. Because it's only 10%.
Okay. Are those your primary issues?
Yes.
Okay. I know the answer to all of those. I have a few questions.
Okay.
One of the questions I have is, how long is the work? Did you guys already start the work physically at the site?
Yes.
And how long from then to when you expect to be complete? Is this a 30-day job?
No, it's a 120-day job.
No, it may have been issued to be a 120-day job, but how long do you expect to be out there?
90 days.
Okay, 3 months.
That's what our goal is. Yes, sir, 3 months.
Okay, so let's start with what the rules are for stored material. So first of all, I'm not going to say they're lying to you because I wasn't in the room, but I'll just tell you that it is untrue that they can pay you for stored material. There's 2 methodologies that they can pay for stored material. Number one is they can, if you put it in the material into a bonded and insured warehouse, you can submit an invoice to the federal government for the cost of the stored material that you paid. Now, you don't get money for this bonded and insured warehouse. You just get for what you paid for the material.
Right.
Okay. Now, did you put the material on credit or did you actually pay $50,000 cash?
We put it on credit.
Okay. Then you can't submit an invoice to the federal government saying, I paid this, unless the credit with the supplier is willing to write a receipt that says you paid for it. In other words, I can take a credit card, go to the store, buy something, and I can say I paid for it, even though I haven't had to outlay cash for it yet.
I see.
Okay, so that's one methodology. The second methodology is that if the federal government has a designated storage area and it's protected, and when I say protected, like it's on a base, somebody would have to break into the base. It's a designated storage area by the federal government that, it's not open to the public.
Okay.
Or like a locked Connex box or something like that. So those are the 2 methodologies. Now, contractors don't like to pay for stored material or to get paid for stored material because we make a lot more money by installing the material and billing it as a percent complete against the federal contract. Now, what I do in a situation like this is I don't buy all $50,000 of material at once. I have it delivered as I'm installing it. That way, I'm not having to pay for it all up front. Well, in this case, you didn't either. So my question is, of the material that's $50,000, how quickly can you get that installed? Can you get it installed before your note becomes due at the supplier?
No.
Can you get 50% of it? Can you get some large portion of it that there's enough money there to make sure you're still in good standing?
Yes.
Is this a bonded job?
Yes.
Okay, if it's a bonded job, you can contact your supplier and say, look, this is a bonded job. You're guaranteed to be paid. On this job, instead of 30-day pay, I need 60-day pay because I need to install the material in order to get paid for it.
Right. Which we can do that. The material is stored on site in a fenced area, but it's our fenced area. It's not
okay,
the
well,
federal government's.
Look, if you wanted to look, this becomes a business decision. So you got to understand that I'm the rules of federal government construction guy. A business decision is not something that is true or false in federal government construction. Does that make sense?
Right.
Okay, so I'm presenting options to you based on what I know to be the rules. And one of the options is that you could make the argument that it's a fence secured area where the material is, and I want to be paid for stored material. Now, that has an unintended consequence. You turn your billing in day after tomorrow for that stored material, and you only get to get paid. You only get to put an invoice in once a month. But now 2 weeks from now, you got 25% of those things installed, and you want to put a billing in for installed material, progress payment. Well, now you got to wait a whole nother 30 days. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So you have to make a business decision as to what's the best way for me to, essentially get money and work through this contract, knowing that I can only turn a billing in once a month. Now, if you go read the Federal Prompt Payment Act, it says the contractor shall be paid monthly or more often as deemed necessary by the contracting officer. So you might be able to make an argument to the contracting officer that on this job, we need to be paid more often. But that's a discussion you'd have to have with the contracting officer, and I don't know what your finances are. But again, those are business decisions. I'm the rules guy. But I'll just tell you, it says monthly or more often as deemed necessary by the contracting officer. If the contracting officer deems it necessary, you can, in fact, get paid more often than once a month.
Understand.
Now let's talk about the delay. So first of all, I understand you guys had a phone conversation. Did you actually turn this quote letter in to them for the extended duration, more time?
Yes, we did.
Okay, has that been turned into a modification yet?
They gave us a form to. No, they didn't give us a form yet. They said to send a letter and they would respond.
Okay.
And they have not responded yet.
Look, when you're talking about government-caused delay, what you're really talking about is impact, okay? And the impact is we expected to start here. The government, did they issue you a stop work order or any kind of, or did they just not show up and nobody was there?
It was an email.
That said what?
That we could not start due to the government shutdown.
Okay, so that's government-caused delay. When we're talking about government-caused delay, we're talking about impact. And the thing that comes up about impact is, Did your costs increase due to the delay? Did the extension, see, now you've got this job. You expected to be done by now. You said it was a 90-day job. They delayed it for 60 days. It's now 30 days past when they said start. You would have been done by now. But you had, I don't know if you had already started or not, but you could have had demobilization, remobilization costs. Anytime there's a delay, there's money. And because you're new to this, they're trying to pull one over on you that, oh, no, we're not going to give you time. Oh, okay, well, if you send us a letter, we'll give you time. Boy, they're playing you like a, what do they call it, a puppet or something.
Yeah.
And what you could really do is fight back and say, not only am I entitled to the additional time because of the government caused delay, we had these additional expenses. And that's called the ICLA formula. And you can Google that. It's the ICLA formula. But you could actually come up with additional funding that they'll have to come up with to compensate you for your entitlement associated with the increased costs associated with government-caused delay. So, listen, I understand that you're new to this and you're getting out there. The reason that Carl and Mike had gone through our workshop and learned everything and had all the conversations that they had with us over the years is because, there's a lot more to this than just going out there and installing some fire hydrants.
Right.
And, even in just properly turning in the schedule of values, the paperwork portion of this thing. But really, the reason that I wanted to have this conversation with you and kind of listen to what all your problems with is just show you that having somebody like me in your back pocket, somebody that you can actually bounce it. Because look, how many people do you know in this world other than Carl and Mike that you could even have this conversation with? Probably nobody.
Right. No. I can think of maybe one or two other, but yeah, it's very few for sure.
At this level, somebody that knows the exact answers to every problem you're having? How did I even end up on your call list then?
Right. No, you're right. I don't know of anybody else.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought you were asking like their caliber of contractor that.
No, I mean, look, anybody else, any other good contractor, even your best friend, if you told them the same story you just told me, their response is going to be, God damn, I love you, Zeke, but I hope you get through that one. That sucks. That's about all a good friend can offer you. But somebody like me can give you actionable strategies to every single one of your problems, because there isn't a problem on federal contracts that I haven't had and already come up with a solution to. And I know the answer to every question there ever was. So, look, what I meant to say was, at some point when you want to sit down and really learn how to, turn the table back onto the government, I'm the guy that can help you do that.
Absolutely. And I'm definitely interested in seeing what that process would look like and what the fees involved. I assume there's a retainer fee.
There is. I'll send you over. There's a video that I make people watch when they want to do business with me. I'll send you that video. Okay. It's about an hour long, but at some point, there's no rush to anything that I do. At some point, sit down and watch that video and then just call me back and let's talk.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, I'll send that over.
Okay. You want to send it an email or through text or?
I'll text it over to you.
Okay. Well, I appreciate the input, and we'll have to come up with some decisions here as a business, how we want to go forward on this.
Oh, yeah.
All righty.
Okay, have a good one, Zeke.
Yes, sir. Same to you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
Schedule a Zoom with me at GCExperts.com/Zoom.